The painting is called The Magpie, but I'm going to start with the snow, because that snow ain't white. But what colour is snow? Well, look, the seemingly obvious answer is that it's white, the purest white you can imagine. Nothing beats the whiteness of fresh snow, the perfect substance for reflecting every wavelength of light that strikes it. And this painting here shows that white snow. Well, not really. As I pass this actual perfect white circle across the painting, we can see that the artist, Claude Monet, has not left anywhere on his white canvas with anything close to a perfect white. Later, I'll show you some more white objects. You're going to be surprised at them too. Monet had been out painting lots of snow scenes with his artist buddies. That would be Alfred Sisley and Camille Pissaro. And they had also turned out some evocative and beautiful snowscapes. Here is Alfred Sisley's snow effect in Louveciennes. A fairly bright sky overhead, creating deep shadows below the roadway, and, critical to understand, within the snow itself. Lots of shadows. More than that, lots of reflected colours. Because the snow, being a great reflector, is reflecting the blue of the sky and the colours from the buildings, the foliage, and even the slightly golden tinges within the clouds, which are themselves picking up yellow light from the sun. Sisley, like his other artist friends, liked to put the word effect in some of his titles. He wasn't painting an illustration of snow, but the effect of light, dark and colour on the snow itself. Now look at Pissaro's snow, also painted at Louveciennes. Under a darker and colder sky, the snow exhibits greys, pinks, yellows, purples. All very subtle, all combining to evoke a cold winter's day, bare trees, cold people, with the snow maybe a little mushy underfoot. Back to Monet and the Magpie. Starting at the foreground, so many colours, yellows, pinks, blues, violets. As we pan upwards, we encounter the snow in deep shadow, blues and violets. This might seem an obvious way to paint these shadows, or not. But at the time it was revolutionary. The accepted idea was that shadows were grey. Why didn't others just look, you might think? Indeed. This painting was rejected by the established art world, the Paris Salon, as being too common and too coarse. Then the fence, covered in and crested by snow, its subtle pinks turning to yellow as the sunlight hits the top. Then the house, covered in snow, its roof reflecting the colours in the sky, but darker. And the trees covered in snow, delicate pink violets creating a snowy form to the branches. Then the sky, also alive with colours, pinks, yellows, violets, even greens near the top. I've left the named focal point, the Magpie, to last, not the normal order you would take in a painting. And here, just above a shaft of yellow sunlight that is reflected in the snow, on top of a gate, sits a solitary magpie. Monet has not tried to illustrate a magpie, but to paint the overall effect of the environment in which the magpie finds itself, the light, the crispness of the air, the chill, the snow. Monet said, "For me, a landscape does not exist in its own right, since its appearance changes at every moment, but the surrounding atmosphere brings it to life, the light and the air which vary continually. For me, it is only the surrounding atmosphere which gives subjects their true value." Still with me? Well done you. Now that we have the context right, finally let's look at our magpie. Firstly, its placement in the composition. For colour placement, we see that the most golden part of the painting is right here, where the sun shines off the snow and through the gate. It is made even more golden, more bright, by being placed within the dark shadows of the snow on the fence. This golden light seems brighter than the sky, brighter than the background trees, and certainly brighter than the shadows. An artistic trick would be to place the dark object of the magpie straight against the lightest part of the background, creating a strong contrast to draw our eye. But Monet is withheld from placing the magpie's dark form directly in this pool of light for dramatic effect. No, Monet is far more subtle than that, and he also has his reasons. Note also that he has not bothered to find the golden ratio, or even use the rule of thirds to place the magpie within the confines of the canvas. Why? Because although the magpie may be the title, it isn't actually the subject at all. I'm going to repeat that. The magpie may be the title, but the bird isn't the subject. By placing the magpie near the bright portion, but not within it, he has made the magpie more of a visitor to the scene, rather than its main point. He has instead made the atmosphere the main feeling evoked, which is the true subject of his painting. The magpie is merely a foil, bringing a sense of scale and emptiness to the scene. And here it sits, seemingly the only animate life on the canvas. In times past, winter was seen as something to be endured. Food was not as abundant, some animals were taken inside, the cold in Europe could be hard, the nights were long. But that's not the whole story. The seasons also create a rhythm. Winter can be difficult, but it contains the promise of spring. Life continues. Together with the magpie, we become part of the scene, drinking it in. A landscape that, as we look deeper, is not merely cold and white, but in fact dazzling with colour, rich in texture, and with an atmosphere we can almost see. I'm not making this up, for a change. Monet said about one of his other works, "I want to paint the air in which the bridge, the house, the boat are located. The beauty of the air where they are." And that's nothing short of impossible. Well, at least he allowed that. He wanted to paint the air, not just the subjects. And he has achieved this by filling the air with the reflected colours of the snow, colours which it seems many other artists had never noticed. I promised some other white objects. Here's a photo of a white ceramic teacup on a white tablecloth. And here's the white spot. Here's a photo of some white clouds. And here's the white spot. They all seem white because our brain already makes allowance for the shadows and reflections of a white object. But in choosing a paint off your palette, unless you really look, you will fool yourself in your representation, missing out on the air and space that Monet looked for. Back to the painting. At first glance, we might think the magpie is a portrayal of the only life within this snowy landscape. But it's not the only life here. The snow itself dazzles and entrances. Yes, the winter is cold, but it holds more than just the promise of its passing. It holds its own life, colours and feeling. Here in Normandy, in 1869, we see and feel the beauty of this landscape. A landscape Monet was compelled to paint over and over with his artist friends, striving to place us there, to see it, really see it. To see, as he puts much better than me, the beauty of the air. Well, I can remember the first time I ever painted a white object properly. By that I mean actually looking at the colours of each part of the object. And each object, of course, has what may be called its local colour, you know, the colour that you would call it if you were looking at it. But in its environment, it picks up all kinds of other things, like being in the atmosphere. It picks up the reflections, it picks up shadows. And the first time I saw that, I was kind of blown away. I hope you're interested too. If you're interested in how artists create depth in their paintings, have a look at this video about Cézanne. See you next time.